Welcome, world, to Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. I am Reverend Sandy Rogers, and as the creator of this historic event, it is my pleasure to welcome you. We come together to bring you this historic event. We have practitioners, holistic practitioners. We have medical doctors, we have spiritual individuals. This event is so lovingly dedicated to my mother, Mrs. Barbara Dean Brown. And my mother taught me like 40 plus years ago about the importance and the meaning behind herbs. And she would always say, we don't know what they putting in those pills, so you better not, get hooked on prescription drugs. And so we listened to Mom, but not all of us paid attention. My sister, bless her heart, was diagnosed recently thereafter with asthma, and she was prescribed prednisone, which is a very powerful steroid. And my sister actually got hooked on steroids, like someone out on the street kind of hooked, like on heroin or crack or something like that. And so my mom and my sister are both on the other side, living in the other dimension, but they're upholding me, and this is dedicated to their memory. So we don't want to come and make you change your mind about what you're doing. We just want to provide information to you, something different, so that you have options to choose from, so that you're not stuck. Because the environment that we now live in, the fast foods, the toxins in the air that we breathe and in the water that we drink, and the processed foods, and all of that is causing havoc on this precious body temple. So God created our bodies to heal themselves, but they can only heal themselves when they're fed and they're nourished and they're stress-free. And so the 60 or so or more experts that we have are bringing you this worldwide wellness movement in an attempt to share their testimonies and their information with you. So we have from age 14 on up. I don't even know what the oldest age is. I think 88 or something. So you see, that's a wide range of knowledge that we're bringing you. And so we hope that you come and that you get all the knowledge that you need to affect a positive change on your life, and share this with others. It's free, it's online, and so we're just so thankful that you decided to be a part of our listening community, the viewing community, and we certainly appreciate you for giving us your time of day and your energy and your efforts to being with us and to being a part of this historic event. We have pulled together people of color for you, by you, right? So we want to make sure that you understand that we too, melanated people with color, can enjoy, practice, and participate in some of these modalities that others have been doing for centuries, and that is pretty new to our community. So we talk about Qigong, we talk about meditation, yoga, spiritual work from a different perspective than religion. So we talk about the spirituality aspect. We talk about abuse in the families. We talk about all kinds of subjects because we know that in our communities there are layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff that we never talk about that's causing a negative effect on our bodies and its healing process. So we address it, whatever it is, and we hope that you will benefit from the many experts that we have, and that you walk away with lots of knowledge and lots of new information, and that you become fully empowered to share information with others. So thank you for being with us. We love you and we bless you, and we look forward to doing this again. But thanks for being here with the first one. We appreciate you.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Dillard, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. My specialty is working with teens, particularly teen girls. Having grown up as a teen girl with a very troubled past, attachment issues, abandonment issues, abuse, it was important to me to work with teens because I saw myself in them, and taking the time to help them navigate their teenage years. It's very important to me. Being a teenager can be a very traumatic experience. This is a time when young people are, in that in between. They're not quite a child, but they're not an adult yet, and so it's a high transitional period in their lives. And so having people like myself in their life who can be consistent, who can be loyal is very, very important to teenagers. I've worked with teenagers in high schools and in middle schools, but predominantly in middle schools. And over the past 4 years, I've ran a mental health clinic out of middle school, a couple of middle schools, to help teenagers navigate not just their family lives, but also academic issues, peer challenges, and just everyday living as a teen in America, which is pretty challenging. I remember, I don't know if you knew this, but I migrated from Jamaica when I was 13 years old. And I remember before coming to America, my aunt said to me, she said, when you go to America, you need to stay away from American teens because they all do drugs. And so I thought that was interesting. And the funny part of the story is, as I was traveling through the New England towns to Connecticut after, getting off the plane in New York, I kept seeing different stores, and they were saying drugstore. So I was thinking in the back of my mind, oh my gosh, no wonder American teens do drugs, because they could go buy it in the store, right? So it wasn't for a while, until a while after that, I realized that what's called drugstore in America is really pharmacies in Jamaica, right? And so I was thinking that, growing up in my home, the more American I became, the less Jamaican I was, and the less relatable I was to my family. So I spent a lot of time feeling isolated and trying to navigate both worlds. And I imagine that was difficult for my parents. And then, lately I've been thinking, I wonder if they thought I was on drugs or something because I was changing, I was assimilating. I needed to do that so that I could survive in school. Because being a teenager, being in the 8th grade and being different is not what I wanted to be. I wanted to fit in. But yeah, it was difficult to fit in because I am who I am, and I don't fit in. But as much as I could, if I could reduce the stigma of being that girl, the Jamaican girl, that would help me to navigate. And that has helped me in some instances. And so I find that it's easier for me to relate to teen girls who are going through those kinds of transitions, family issues, because I understand the pain of not being able to feel supported by your family or even feel like you fit in with your family. I understand the struggles of being separated from what you knew to be true, your culture, and having to start over and relearn a new way of living. And so that helps me to identify with that population. Some of the transitions that I work with girls who are going through, there's large population of girls who have to navigate what happens in their home when their moms start dating somebody else who's not their father. That creates a lot of struggles amongst our teen girls. And so helping them and helping the family to navigate those issues so that they can bring about some kind of healing, restructuring of the family, rebuilding and protecting that bond is one of the things that I enjoy doing as well. And so not only do I work with teens here in the United States, but I also work with teens on the mission fields in Africa, particularly Senegal, West Africa, where my nonprofit organization takes me. Project Safety Nets, I started that in 2008, so approximately 10 years ago that started. And it's a nonprofit organization that works to support women and girls in particular in three specific areas of health, education, and sustainable lifestyle. And working with teenagers there looks like one of the initiatives that we have is collaborating with organizations like Days for Girls and Rotary International to provide hygiene kits for girls. And you say hygiene kits, and yeah, in those hygiene kits, what we have washable pads, we have underwear, washcloths, and they're placed in these Ziploc plastic bags and put in a drawstring backpack so that the girls can use those things to navigate their cycles. Something that's so natural, but it keeps girls from getting educated because one, they might not be able to afford a pad or during their cycles, or two, they might not have access. And so giving a girl a kit that's washable and that will last 3 years is saying, opening up the world of education to them. So those are some of the things that I do in my work with girls across the world.
Those are some excellent projects, goals, and intentions that you have, especially when you're talking about the change of the atmosphere within the homes with parents. Because it could be either a mother or a dad that's single and that's dating someone else other than their parent. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that? So what are some of the issues that a young person would face in that?
Yes, that's a really, really hard transition for young people. One, you're used to your family life and your family structure. It could have been you and mom or you and dad for, as long as you can remember. And now the dynamics of your family is changing because somebody new is coming into your household. And, sometimes what I've experienced is when parents fall in love, they don't necessarily think about the child. They're thinking about, I'm in love, I found my forever love, not necessarily how am I going to help my child transition. It's like, if I'm okay, they'll be okay. But sometimes we have to really slow things down and think about, how will this affect my child? And help your child to navigate the changes that's going to happen in the family, and taking time to listen to them as well, because inadvertently a lot of times what happens is we teach our teenagers in ways that really stifles their intuition and their feelings, and they're not validated in so many ways. So to be able to have that conversation and help them walk through it to a point where they can feel comfortable engaging somebody new. Because imagine, for example, a mom falling in love with someone and, her life is like, oh wow, she's so excited about the possibilities. And her teenage daughter is like, well, what's gonna happen to me? I'm left out now, where do I fit in these dynamics? And in adding to that, a lot of times there's geographical movement that happens with the change in relationships, and taking into consideration the loss that child is experiencing, the grief that he or she is experiencing, is very important to take that into consideration, because if that's not addressed appropriately, and if they're not helped to not navigate that and to help build a relationship with this new partner appropriately, it could manifest in so many different ways. And the first way that we see it is, a lot of times, is we see it showing up in the academics and the behaviors at school, because the child usually doesn't necessarily know how to speak on what's happening or even understand what's happening, because they're going through so many different changes and feelings and emotions, and not know what to do with them. And so it's important that the parents are tuned in to their children and help them navigate that, because it's not just their relationship, it's the relationship of everyone who's involved.
Great advice.
Yeah.
So do you find that there's unique differences with the life circumstances that our young girls face here in America as opposed to Africa, or are they basically the same?
Well, when I was growing up in Jamaica, I would say it's a little different, but now with instant access to the internet, both in America and abroad, they're becoming more of the same. What I'm seeing in Africa is I still see the connection of the family. A lot of the families are still intact. That's not to say that they don't have their own challenges within the family. Whereas working with teens in America, I see a lot of dysfunction, a lot of disconnected families, a lot of abandonment, and a lot of transitions that's happening in their lives and in their families. So in that sense, I would say it's different. But like I said, the internet is really, really changing the face and the lives of families.
What advice would you give the parents in general, or if you want to speak on something specific, of course that is allowable, but is there anything that really touches you that you would like to speak on?
Mm-hmm. Well, a few weeks ago, one of my friends contacted me, and she was alarmed and she didn't know what to do. What she found out, she found her daughter's social media account and found somebody was in her inbox, and from looking at the messages, it wasn't anything too alarming, but what my friend noticed was a progression of what seems to be grooming. And so an adult male was in her daughter, she's probably about 12, 13, was in her inbox grooming her, sending her gifts, nothing big like a journal or things like that. And I think one of the things that parents have to be really, really cautious about is their children's use of the internet and how much access they have and who's in contact with them. And you know, try as they may, it's very hard, and kids are very smart, and you know, there could be one site up today and tomorrow it's gone. But there are so many different sites and apps that are really disguised. It looks like one thing, but behind the scene, you know, there's so many other things happening. And so if you take that for a girl who is probably in a broken home, missing her mom who's working to keep a roof over her head, or missing dad who's not there anymore, or dad could be working, and have that much time, and somebody is giving her that much attention and sending her gifts without parental supervision, that's ideal for, human trafficking. And I don't think that we're talking enough as parents to our children about stranger danger, because we think we meet somebody on the internet and they're instantly your friend and they understand me so well and we connect so well, and they know me and they know me better than my own parents do. But yet that's setting you up for a life of, horror.
Explain grooming.
Grooming to me is what you see when someone is trying to win somebody over. Like they're trying to win this teenager over in a way that she or he no longer feels like this person is a stranger. Okay, so they will pick up different things that you are saying and communicating with him or her and use that to say, see how much I understand you, see what I can do for you, I can make your life better. And it doesn't happen all at once, it's a progression. And you become more and more attached to this person who is in fact manipulating you, and winning your trust and seem very loyal. And so you have no reason not to trust them.
You had a very interesting, you made a very interesting statement when you said him or her.
Correct.
So are you saying then that there are also women that are on the internet that can groom the young people?
Absolutely. And there are women who are grooming girls and grooming boys alike. And I remember one case I was working with, this one young woman was being groomed by a young girl. And she thought, oh my gosh, I found my best friend. And next thing you know, we're putting out an Amber Alert for this young girl because she was groomed and led away by somebody a female that she trusted, or she developed a trust in.
Is that common?
It's very common. It is very common. And so with the absence of parents, for whatever reason, if you're busy working, you're busy caught up in your own life, or you might be on drugs or whatever the distraction is from true parenting, with that distraction and the absence of a parent who's functioning as a parent, there's so much room and so much space for other things to come in and other people to come in to your life and fill that void. And that's being done. A lot of kids who are led into, for example, trafficking we're talking about, they're not necessarily taken against their will. They meet up, they plan to meet up, they're not exposed to the full danger of the relationship that they're in.
Because trafficking is really becoming a huge problem here in the United States.
Absolutely, and abroad as well. And I think we were watching a show last night that said that it was like a $300 billion industry. So it's very prevalent, and I don't think we're talking about it enough. And some people might say, well, my child is too young to even think about that. But if you have access, your child have access to the internet, they are always at the risk of being engaged in something like that.
And that grooming is a first step, correct? Is that what you're saying?
And exactly. Because the first thing to do is to build trust. And and once you feel like you trust this person, even though you've never met them, they're no longer a stranger to you. And some kids will say, well, I trust them more than I trust my mom or my dad. There's no reason. There hasn't, I mean, your parents, they're a violation in your relationship with your parents. And, you know, this person has never violated me, or they've never been disloyal, or they've never let me down. They've never had to punish me or anything like that. And so it's easy to become attracted to that kind of caregiving.
And you serve youth around the world. What have you learned most from the youth that you serve?
Oh my goodness, where should we start? I've learned so much because learning happens both ways. So as I'm serving, I'm learning. And, you know, what I've realized, no matter where I am, is that, for example, teenagers, they need the basic things. They need to know that they're loved and cared for. They need to know that they're not a burden. And they need to know that they're valuable. And that's in whatever language, whatever country, wherever you go. They need those more than they need, you know, the brand name and the technology and all those different things. They need to know that. And they also need to know that you're going to be loyal. And that's, with the absence of loyalty, it's easy for them to be attracted to other things that appears pleasant.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have a radio program?
I have a Facebook live show, and it's called Teen Talk Live with Miss Ann, and that comes on Monday evenings, Eastern Standard Time at 8 p.m. And I also have a private practice where I serve teen girls under KIP Consulting Services. I also am a part of an anthology that's coming out. It's 12 of us that contributed to this anthology. It's called Unchain My Legacy. And in that anthology, 12 women speak about what are they doing in their lives now to make things better for their future and the future of their children. So that's being released this summer. It's called Unchain My Legacy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So as we talk around this theme of life, love, and wellness,
Yes.
is there a parting thought, word, advice that you would give to those that are observing, that are looking at this webinar?
Absolutely. When I think about life, love, and wellness, I think about something that I wrote a few days ago, is that hurt girls become hurt women, who then become hurt mothers and raise hurt children. So to heal that, if you can look at your own pain and your own journey, then you can begin to do something differently. And I don't think it's ever too late. You might say, my kids are not teenagers anymore. Well, mine aren't. But it's never too late to look at your own health, your own choices, and your own lifestyle, and make amends for that, and do the changes that you can to make sure that you're paying your own emotional debt, right? Because a lot of times we pass on our emotional debt from generation to generation, and we call it generational curse. And we feel like we can't do anything about that. But if we learn how to pay our own debt, then we'll stop passing it on. And then we'll stop taking from the other generation. And I think that's one of the best ways to heal ourselves, so we can have better lives. And if you can heal yourself emotionally, then the physical will fall into line. You don't have to eat about it anymore, or you don't have to find drugs or something superficial to fill that void. And so I wish everyone emotional healing.